that race between Tina and Goldstone.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like all of a sudden, next thing I know is I see the starter guy forcing Tina to go down the track, and I'm watching it. I'm watching the hourglass, is what it seemed like, because she's over there going, and he's over there. And I wish we had a camera in the side of the car because I'd have loved the scene. You're not going to be tired when you get to the track to go drag racing, but when you drag racing, you go get on the road, you run out of gas, you start getting tired. And two, you're out there in the middle of nowhere at midnight, and you got to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for somebody to open up to be able to get a part or whatever. Like, this doesn't make no sense. Plus, on top of that, it made sense at the time. Spectators, they're going to get off work and they're going to come watch us. So it just,
the nighttime racing, I love it. I've preached that since the very beginning. It really makes so much sense to me because you're literally driving to get, like, your adrenaline is up because you're going to the track. You're trying to get to the track.
I've been told my whole life, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to pull that off. It's just for me, it's a challenge to prove to people that I can do what people say that you can't do. It's just like this car right here. That's something that I don't think ever in my lifetime would I have thought that, I'd have a 6-second all steel car, and all
right, guys, welcome to episode 110 of the Drag Driver Pete Show, presented by Summit Racing. Dude, tonight we've got a crazy show. And then PowerTube TV, dude, did you see this? Our boys from Canada took the S10 from Justin Danger Nunley in the Pinks, I guess Team Canada versus Team America. They are our friends, Rich Guido, Raj, Ahuja, and Kyle Williams helped put this car together. All those guys from Canada went down there and just basically kicked Justin's butt. So they kicked America's butt. I don't know what America is going to do about that, but I feel like we should have had a better showing than that. But when you're going up against guys like Rich Guido and Kyle Williams and Rovic from the Yukon and Sean, however you say his last name, the What No Way guy, he's done a drag and drive in a 4-door Chevelle. This car just put it down. Maybe they need to send it over to US Motor Works and have the car finished up there. So if you guys aren't signed up, Pinks for PowerTube TV, you can download it. It's an app for your TV, for your phone, everything. We have a ton of content from Drag Driver Pete over there, and there's stuff from every kind of build aspect you can want. Really nice cars, really shitty cars, off-road stuff. They have constantly are upgrading the package over there, so highly recommend it. And guys, if it's another way for you to watch us, come on. We actually send them exclusive stuff every now and then. I need to do more of it. But stuff you can't even watch on our channel, you can watch over there. Now for the fun stuff. WAF Racing carburetors. If you need carburetor parts, go see WAF. Let me message Chris Wozniak. He's the man. Let me play this. And then we're going to bring Matt Frost in from Rocky Mountain Race Week.
Have you ever wished you could fit your toolbox in the palm of your hand, or really needed that extra set of hands while making a jet change at the track? At WAF Racing, we specialize in designing and manufacturing top-tier automotive tools that are made strong to withstand travel, yet lightweight not to slow you down. Tested in-house and at the track by the team at WAF Racing, every part is made by racers for racers. From compact toolkits, carburetor top hats, or spark plug storage containers, our tools are precision engineered and manufactured in the USA. Made of the strongest materials, every piece strikes the perfect balance of durability and dependability. Maybe you need something custom just for you. We do that too. You need WAF Racing in the passenger seat for your next drag racing event. Head over to wafracing.com today to take your racing experience to the next level. WAF Racing. Design, build, race.
Man, I love those dudes. Chris Wozniak's awesome. That black Barracuda is his. So he's a NA small black guy. Like, you guys are buddies.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
All the carb stuff that they do is really kind of fun. But I want to bring in the man himself, the guy that celebrated his birthday on Mega Week, pictured here live and in person, is going to be right here with us. Mr. Matt Frost. Hold on. I just screwed it up. There we are. Sir, how are you this evening? Tell us what you got going on. Introduce yourself, all the fun stuff.
Well, I'm me, Matt Frost, Rocky Mountain Race Week. And what do I got going on? I've got a torn down car behind me that needs to be ready for Friday to go racing. So
oh man,
we started with a tire change and we ended up with a whole motor tore down. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's the wrong end, man. That's the wrong end.
It happens sometimes, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's super cool shirt you got on. You guys can purchase that shirt right now at dragdriverpete.com/store if you want to. Our race car friends, our favorite restaurant shirt there. That's a fun one. Got a bunch of cool drag and drive cars on it as well. Matt, I'm going to get mushy for a minute, dude. I'll tell you, you changed my life. I don't know if you knew that back in 2020, but who would have ever thought 5 years later we'd be sitting right here and I would have quit a corporate job and talked to degenerates all day.
It's freaking awesome. It's awesome, and you're doing a great job. And what I love about it is you're doing it for the right reasons, and it's awesome. You're doing it for the people and the racers, and it's pretty awesome.
Well, I appreciate that for sure. We, dude, it's really probably the best family that's out there. I mean, I know Jonathan will agree with this. It's really one of the coolest. I love that you had the forethought to allow anybody that raced the previous year to sign up for the next, because it did several things. It did, one was like, you don't have to train a bunch of new people, right? Two, it helps you have a bigger event every time. So you're more likely to get to your number. But what it allows for new people like me coming in 2020, it gave me people I could go talk to.
Yeah.
Like Jonathan obviously is like my big brother. And so him talking with him, doing all that kind of fun stuff. But like you could go to anybody that had a race week decal on their windshield because they had like 2017, 2018, 2019. And then you saw 2020. You're like, okay, these are my folks. I can ask them things. So man, great forethought on that. I think you've done that since the beginning, right?
Yeah, we absolutely have. And I got a lot of flack for, from the beginning of it. There was a lot of, oh man, nobody else is being able to get in there. Well, if you look at how the numbers work, there's always at least 70 new cars. I mean, that don't sound like a lot, but that's, that turnover, there's a lot. That's a lot. And for me, what it did I think my thought process is like you said, one, you're not training everybody, that culture stays there, but also it gives you a place to go next year. So you're going to want to build more, you want to make your car faster. The things that you want to do, you're not guessing whether you're going to be able to get there. You're not going to, you're not, at that point with it only being, 2 events going on at the time, your chances of getting in once you got locked out of there was pretty hard. So if you can have a place to go, that you can put some more time into your car and it's going to be positive for you the next year.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see that. And I was just making a note to actually look at that. It was how many people have gone faster throughout the years. Like if you look at guys like Carlos Astor, did he start with a 13.0 car? I mean, probably not, but did he start in there and he's worked his way up? Who have we not seen in there that I didn't catch that looking at all that historical stuff? It's like, who had a 13 or 14 second car that just kept taking that car and going faster? Not like Uncle Stoney here, who brings a different car every time, which those are great stats too.
Sure.
Who's brought what, and kind of how fun that is, because I think that is one thing that this became a vacation for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are, was it last year when you listed off, I think we were at Oklahoma City, you listed off like all these people that had done like every event. And I mean, it was more than I could count on 2 hands and one of my feet. I think it was pretty awesome.
There was a lot. I mean, it's slowly, it's knocked off. I think now you're down to the Thorpes and, Carlos has done, he hasn't competed in all of them, but he's been to all of them. And then you have Vince. Vince has been to every one from the beginning, and
that's awesome.
It's really crazy to see that. And there's a lot of them that have done it a lot of years. And we all understand, like the 301 streetcar guys, they were there for a ton of them. They were there for a long time. Yeah, the kids were younger and now they're, having babies and they're adults now and stuff like that. I mean, it's just crazy what we've seen, with our kids and everybody else's kids. And we've lost people that we've grown to love over the years. And we've watched all these kids grow up and now they're racing, and it's just wild. Yep. The family side of it's pretty serious.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that as the years go on. Like, Austin Martin is I mean, we know that family very well. They participated in the streetcar shootout we held for a long time now. They host it with the 301 streetcars. And like just the growth, like Austin went from a kid. I mean, he was like 12 or 13 when they started doing this stuff. And then now, he's got, I'm sure, fiance or girlfriend or whatever she is. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're fiancé or not yet, but she's pretty serious. She's been with him to several events that I've seen.
Sure.
Like, it's pretty serious stuff. So it's pretty awesome to see that. And all the other kids that are coming up too. Eric Daniels here saying 12-0 last year, 11-0 this year, planning on 10-0 next year.
So it creates that monster. I mean, and also I think that's good for everybody. It's good for us. It's good for the industry. it's good for everybody that's involved in this for that to continue on. And you see that a lot with how we've grown with some of our sponsors too, on how that's another thing about the Race Week group is they're very loyal to the people that help sponsor this stuff. And that's another part of that I think you get from it being a family deal, that everybody comes back every year. That's where you get that loyalty and people spend that money. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. I would have never, if you'd have told me that we would be doing a mega week when we started this deal, or we would have had the people that we have on board for sponsors and stuff like that, I never would have dreamed that. All I could do is just put my head down and just keep grinding at it. And it was tough, and it still is tough. Like, we still make mistakes sometimes, and it bothers me. I can tell you when we don't do something right, or everything, when things start going wrong, it still eats at me. I try to take it with stride a little bit more, and I try not to quit every time that something like that happens. But that's how it is for me. Like, I do this because of the people that we are involved with. Otherwise I'd go race my race car and I'd forget about it. But the people drag me back every year, and that's the only reason, honestly, that at the end of the day, that's why I do it, because it's sometimes it's a thankless job, I'll tell you. So
Well, hey, listen, there's a lot of times the only time you talk to people is when they're mad.
Yeah.
And that's tough. Real quick, some comments here. I think it's kicking me back to this for some reason. It kicks me back over here when I bring up a comment. So John Gilman, 11:47 this year, hoping for 11:45 next year, going faster. Chris,
he's a long ways from where he was.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Chris Paget, 1250s to 10.0s to 850s. I mean, that's so awesome. Lee Watkins, 6 years and won 11.0 group this year. That's pretty awesome, man. Those index classes, dude. I want to talk about that in a minute too, because that was crazy for you to do back then. I'm sure people were like, "What are you talking about?" That All Bob race team, 9 years since our first Rocky Mountain Race Week, man. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, and Jason, look at where Jason started with the Firebird to where he's at now too. 2 cars later, and we've watched all of it. I mean, even we can go back to the Taylors with the Camaro, and now where she's at with the where Alex is at with the 55. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done a lot of great things over the years with what we've done. So
yeah, it's wild to see the growth, and especially from like your side. We talked about this on one of the last episodes, was that when you first started this, you were the second Dragon Drive that was out there. Like, so I feel like you laid the groundwork for what we are seeing now. You proved that, hey, there could be more than one. Plus, you couldn't have done it in a harder region.
Right.
Your drives were way longer than what I'm sure at that point Drag Week were.
Right.
And then, you had Drag Week, then you had 2015, you had Rocky Mountain Race Week, and One Guy's Garage started that year. But I think they probably had 20 cars that year.
Sure. And we had 60, and we had to evolve.
Yeah.
Like, we were trying to do all that in 5 days. Drive across Kansas and drive across Nebraska, all that in a week,
Yep.
And it was like, we got to change something here. Like, this is, I don't remember who it was that told me, but we stopped at a hotel, and somebody come in there and he was pissed. And they said, well, how's it going? He looked at me and he was dead serious. He's like, I've treated rental cars better than that. I mean, he was just freaking angry about it. And I'm like, wait, the best part's coming. Like, we didn't get to the mountains yet. I'm like, I know that flat plains and 120 degrees and 320 miles. I know it was hard. And then the next day he's like, oh my God, the drive from the mountains was awesome. But we had to evolve. That's how why the drive days came in. And then I started realizing, I'm like, why are we not doing this at night? Like, why are we doing this during the day? This makes no sense. Like, to me, it was like, hey, you're not going to be tired when you get to the track to go drag racing. But when you drag race and you go get on the road, you run out of gas. You start getting tired. And 2, you're out there in the middle of nowhere at midnight, and you got to wait till 8 o'clock in the morning for somebody to open up to be able to get a part or whatever. Like, this doesn't make no sense. Plus, on top of that, it made sense at the time. Spectators, they're going to get off work and they're going to come watch us. So there was a lot of stuff that had to constantly keep being changed to make this work to where it is now.
The nighttime racing, I love it. I've preached that since the very beginning. It really makes so much sense to me, because you're literally driving to get, like, your adrenaline is up because you're going to the track. You're trying to get to the track. And that, to me, made all the difference when you start looking at other stuff. And as someone said, I can't remember who said it while we were on Mega Week, but the track gets better the longer you're there. Yeah. Not like, sometimes we see that at the sick events or Drag Week, the track goes away the later in the day. It gets hot, you lose all the good stuff. And then so you end up, the nighttime racing, man, it's where it's at. People are out there. It's a ton of fun.
The only lesson that people need to learn is you have to get your first hit in while it's greasy and hot in the right when you get there when it's still 100 degrees. Make sure you get that spot, whether it's a crappy run or not. You've got it, and then from that point, then you can just wait. You can wait till it gets good, and then a lot of times your one and dones and they split. But what was really cool about that is a lot of your one and dones, they would go out, and then your fast guys would stay later and later, and they would get faster and faster, so it retained them there longer, which was even. There was a couple years there, especially during the COVID time, the atmosphere was wild with all the people that were on, out there around the starting line and all that stuff. Like, it was a wild time, and it was good to, it was just a good time to be doing what we were doing, and that atmosphere was something you couldn't explain.
That's awesome. Hey, hold on, just say I want to run through these photos real quick because this is really cool. Rob Lipinski just sent me this. This is her growing up on Race Week. You ready for this? It's gonna get in your feels right here. Oh, what? That's so wild, man.
Oh yeah, those kids. I mean, look how small she is. She's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
When the pink fingernails started to come into play,
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I was going to say. Who still has their pink pinky?
Well, there's still a little bit on there. Maybe a little.
Yeah. Yep. You can tell I don't do anything manual labor there or at all. But hey, this one I saw Alita Stark at Six Summer. She still had hers on, so we got a picture together. I'm gonna post that up on the Rocky Mountain Race Weekers group here in a little bit. Mike Gonzalez says, I do.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Said Chris Padgett said the highlight of 2020 and COVID crap was Race Week. Man, I've said it forever. Like, that event really changed a bunch of stuff, because without that event, I wouldn't have done one. Like, I don't know why I was missing them in 2019 or earlier when they were in the summer when I could have done them, but because Race Week came, I went. Like, I mean, that's where it comes from. And so to have that opportunity is pretty awesome.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's one thing. We changed things that way, and we and it was kind of like what's going on here with me, my thought process on Mega Week. Like, I threw that together in probably, I don't know what it was, 3-4 weeks. That said, hell, we're going to try to do this, and we're going to do it for the drag weekers that are not going to be able to go. And
I felt like it was 4 days.
I don't know. It was short. I don't think it was accepted well, but we realized that we could do that. And the next thing you know, it was like it went really well. So, okay, let's do a second one. But I think where I got stuck, my biggest, get into the details of this, but where I got stuck in this is Drag Week was the only ones that were doing it at the time. I had that black eye if I went out there and I tried this on my own. I couldn't get any of the big sponsors. And then you got to the point now where it's really big, and some of these other guys have grabbed all these huge sponsors. We kind of got stuck in this hole, right? So there's this little hole that we're in that we're starting to get out of it now. Like, I'm starting to get the sponsors that we, they would really help us get to where we need to go. But it was hard for a long time because I was doing something that people didn't really agree with. And so it was a struggle. But once we got to that second one and we started doing that second one and we knew it was going to work, I'm like, well, here we are. These guys all want us to do it. Like, I did it because everybody said, hey, we want this second one. And it's worked every year. And then kind of like, going into this Mega Week deal, it worked really well. And I can't help to think that maybe I got to try it again just to see if it really can work doing what we're doing with the two events clashing like this. I think it did. There were some hiccups, but like everybody said, it went really, really smooth for the most part. I'm not saying that it can't go bad. I mean, it's one oil down away or one weather event or something like that could turn the tides of that. But we've always worked around all that stuff,
Yeah.
It went so smooth. Like, from a media standpoint, cars were on the track a lot of the day. Like, I don't remember a big 3 or 4 hour window where cars were not on the track, and that worked great for Eric and I. The only problem was, man, we got to schedule better for Mega Week 2. We need to maybe we get us 2 assistants, and like one assistant goes with me and one assistant with him, and we split it up. I don't know. Right. James Shower at High Speed Media, big shout out to him. He had a pretty good plan going in. They had 2 teams that seemed to help them put out a ton of content for Rocky Mountain Race Week, and man, it was really cool. I want to ask, like, what gets into your brain to do that? Like, you knew 10 years, you're like, hey, 10 years, we got to do something cool. But like, dude, that's next level shit, man.
What I originally was going to do, I had been thinking about this for a long time. And what my original plan is to put one group at this end, on the other end, on the opposite side, starting at another track. And we started at this track, and then they crossed each other. And I'm like, well, yeah, but you don't ever end up being together other than maybe somewhere in the middle. So this is where this came together. I'm like, like, man, we've got people who are disciplined. They know what they're doing. I started grooming Mark, that he's the bigger guy, Mark Iskey, that helps me. I kind of got him in, and started teaching him how things could go. And I'm like, if you can just stay on this side and help June, I'll move on to the next one and we can make this work. And I just started working towards how we can make this and figure it out. But it's just, I think it's like anything with what I do. You're just trying to do something a little bit bigger and a little bit and prove that you can do it. Because my whole life has been, I've been told my whole life, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're not going to be able to pull that off. It's just for me, it's a challenge to prove to people that I can do what people say that you can't do. It's just like this car right here. That's something that I don't think ever in my lifetime would I have thought that, I'd have a 6-second all steel car, and it's took me a long time to get here and do what we're doing with it. And we're chipping away at it, but it's just one of those things that you would have never thought. And, here we are, we're not breaking any records or doing anything right, with it. But, as far as that goes, but I'm out there with one of the probably very few cars that are still all steel doors, front clip, everything out there going 6s and knocking it down, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, especially in a car that can be street, there's so few of them. I mean, it's probably one hand you can count the cars that can do that. So that is badass. And one of the only Pro Charge cars to do it in any kind of drag and drive fashion at all. Jason Schaefer here saying, I owned the coupe for 32 years, but tougher drives of Rocky Mountain Race Week has forced me to make the car more dependable and durable than it's ever been. And then that dude, because of all this stuff, met Reggie Moore and all those guys, and then they drove those crazy things all the way to California and back.
Oh my God, they're crazy. And look at what they got to work with. I'm like, you're better man than me, because holy shit, like, sorry, but that's just, it's crazy. I mean, I just can't believe watching them guys. They're just humming down the highway, and you're like, sometimes you're looking at that, you're like, did you guys just drag that out of the field and throw a motor in it and bleed the brakes and make them work and go? Because that's what you're looking at. It's wild.
Yeah. That's crazy. Neil Sabo here says, well, I guess we all need to keep telling Matt he can't, even knowing he will. That's exactly right. Well, I want to talk about some stories, man. I want you to tell us from your side, like how much fun you had during the week. What are some things that stuck out to you from your side, your experience?
It was definitely wild for us, as far as I would say that I would try to leave the track at 6:00 every night to go to the next track. Well, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock would come because I wouldn't leave, And so, but it was great. Like my hardest part with it was I didn't get to spend enough time with the B group that I normally would. I didn't get to go out and get into the stuff, but I did deal with a lot of things that were going on. And Stoney's brake problem, which is crazy, is Dave Messa had basically the same problem with his S10 pickup. That thing lost the front brake line, and he ends up down there in the sand. I mean, bad. Like, it was into the hay bales, and it's smashed up, and he's tore up about it. I know he's tore up about it. I'm looking at it, and we're trying to get this barrel out from underneath it, so we're waiting for them to get the tractor and pick it up. And I said, dude, this thing ain't tore up that bad. I said, I know it's tore up bad, but it's not that bad. I said, let's drag it out. I said, let's make sure it runs and make sure nothing's leaking or whatever. So we do that. And he's like, well, it still don't have no brakes. I said, well, I'll follow you down and I'll get in front of you with the golf cart. So if it starts rolling or whatever, you can crash into me if we have to or whatever. Let's get you back to the pits. So he goes rolling, and every wheel on it's bent, they're rolling. The freaking door is smashed in. I said, dude, take this thing back to the pits and work on it and get it fixed. I said, you need to finish this event. He wasn't sure about it at first. I think he looked at me at first like I was crazy. And then the next thing I know, they're fixing that thing up, and here they come. And the best part about it is when he turned the headlights on, they're both broke and they're hanging out. The eyeballs of this truck's hanging out, right? But they're still working. So when he gets to the next track, I go over there and look. Well, the glass is broke, but the bulbs are still in there. So they just took blue tape and taped the light bulbs buckets back in there. And that's the way it was, So, and, with Reggie's, son crashing the Camaro and all that, they got that back together. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff. Andy Bean's truck, I pulled him out of the ditch. They hydroplaned, I think, probably 5 or 6 miles ahead of us. And it just happened to be that there was I don't know if it's a volunteer fireman or whatever, but he had his lights on and he was going down the road. And I don't think he was going to where he had crashed. He was just going somewhere. Well, he stopped. And so I pull over and I'm like, there's a pickup there that's Road Week truck. And I asked that guy, so you got a chain? He said, yeah. So we hook onto him and we no more hook onto him, and it just starts dumping. Like, it's coming out, water out of my pockets, everything. We're soaked. We get him pulled out of the ditch and get him straightened out, and then we go on our way. But there was a lot of craziness that with the water and the crashes and everything that went on. And unfortunately, Jeremy Kroger's Nova, that thing was a pretty bad crash. Like, there wasn't fixing that car, but everybody was struggling a little bit, and they got through it. And I think for me, that's what it's about for me, is not necessarily the crash part, but like you talked about earlier, just being able to go through some of these events, that happened to us, and to be able to prosper and get through that and have to reflect to that. It makes our lives a little bit easier when we go on through the week. But I mean, those were some things that kind of stuck out. We had a couple struggles at the track, at a couple of tracks getting started, and it just takes everybody to put your nose down and grind and get it. I think the biggest part for me that was surprising was, and I don't think it was wasn't surprising either. But everybody must have went into this one going, we think that there's going to be an issue here. So if there are issues, we're going to work with it, because nobody was complaining. Everybody was having a good time. They were working around the stuff. And this has probably been the best year for that. I just didn't hear near as much of the problems that we were having. I mean, you get your gripes. You got, especially in this situation, you got over 1,000 people there. You think people are going to complain about stuff, but it really, nobody did. It was good.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. It was really cool to go like into the pit and there'd just be cars there all day long.
Yes.
Literally all day long. Cause it was really the schedule was perfect, having the A and B group and all that kind of, people can look at all that. But like for content wise, for media side of stuff, dude, it made it perfect for us. Cause I could literally go out and get any story at any time. If I needed, hey, I haven't recorded anything in 30 minutes.
You can go find it.
Yeah, I could go find and talk to anyone out there. We talked to so many new people. It was really cool. The Geo Metro trailer sticks out in my mind. I love that. How they just welded on the front out of a little Geo Metro. What's really cool is we were walking by that car in the pits at Tulsa, I think day 0, and they had the radials for the truck. They just had them leaned up kind of in the wheel hole of that car. And so I, not a second look, didn't even think about it, didn't see the front on it or anything. Come back by on day 2 and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is crazy.
Yeah, there was some wild stuff. I mean, there was some really cool stuff there. Some of them some newer ones that stack out is the white dart, with the blower. That thing was insane. Lots of different cool stuff. Seeing Stoney with the, in the Nova, and then the little maroon one that he was doing, and there was just a lot of different stuff, and there was just a lot of clean, cool stuff, and then there was some weird stuff too that we've never seen before. And I think most people were telling me what was weird is I call it shift change. So when A group goes to leave and B group comes in, and then they're driving down the road and they seeing cars going the wrong way, and they're all freaking out looking at their maps thinking they went the wrong damn direction because they're not used to seeing the cars going the opposite direction, Yeah. Very cool stuff. Something that stuck out, and I think we'll talk about this forever, but that race between Tina and Goldstone.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like you couldn't write that. You couldn't write that. And she was, I mean, it was crazy because I'm standing there watching it, and she, they told me, they're like, the car's hurt. We're just gonna, we're basically just gonna double bolt, or put the bulbs in and break the beams. And then if he go, he goes. Well, all of a sudden, the next thing I know is I see the starter guy forcing Tina to go down the track, and I'm watching it. I'm watching the hourglass is what it seemed like, because he's over there going, and he's over there, and I wish we had a camera in the side of the car, because I'd have loved to see what that looked like with him over there trying to fire that car. It had to be insane.
I can't imagine his blood pressure at that moment. Oh man,
unbelievable.
So for folks that didn't see it, it was crazy. Tina's in the left lane, Brian Goldstone's in the right lane. To move on, this is like what, round 1 or 2 of the 2 of the Quick 16 or the BMF 16.
Yeah, $15,000 on the line.
And all Tina at that point had to do was roll down, but they were having some issues with the injector driver or something. They couldn't get the big injector. So anyways, she's going down pretty slow, and Goldstone's back there and it's going, oh man. And then when he gets out at about 400 feet, you could tell he was on a scramble or something.
Oh God.
He was like, I'm not gonna get there.
Well, we were seeing both sides of that car. I mean, it was wild to watch those tires. I swear to God, them things had to probably bounce. The back of that car had to come off the ground the way it was bouncing back and forth.
Yes, definitely earned it there. It was pretty awesome. And then of course he goes on to win $34,000 over the weekend. Absolutely insane. So I'll bring a picture of him here. I do have a couple cars I want to go through. The Brittany Friesen's car, didn't Michael, her dad, was driving it, right?
He was
and
driving
then he won the class in a small block or something like that. Is that right?
Did he win it? I'm not sure if he did. I think he did.
I can't remember. They did well or something.
I think it was Group B.
Group B, yeah. So super cool car, and obviously having them there, they have been trying to get this Delray done for so long to get it on a drag and drive, and to not have that car there and to have this one and do so well is really cool. And then, dude, big shout out Shane Werner. You're an animal, bro. To ride through that, do both groups on a motorcycle, that guy was crazy. Absolutely.
And then Vince almost had it too. Like he almost had both classes, for being, that would have been a great story for him, to be at every event and then won both of them would have been pretty wild.
Yeah. And Vince's car, his wife drives in another class, right?
Yes.
Like they turned it down for her to drive another class. So not only did he make a minimum of 4 passes a day for his class, she also made those for the class and
several, because she went over the number quite a few times, so she was coming back around and getting it done.
God, that's crazy. And then of course Chris Story to have him racing this time was really cool. Really weird to see him not running around with a camera. Said he didn't even pick it up at all during the week. Any photo he took was on his phone. So
well, that's good. That's good for him.
Yep.
It's nice to see, the hard work of the guys actually be able to go out there and enjoy it for a change. It was awesome to see that for him, and he was super stoked the whole time too.
Oh yeah, just fourth gear, 208-mile-an-hour wheel speed burnout at Mel Hamilton. It was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. Highly recommend anybody to do Rocky Mountain Race Week. Let me do one more ad read, and then we'll get into some other cars and stuff like that we've got going.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. One more car I want to talk about. This guy right here, Animal. I don't remember his name. I should. He bought us Waffle House on day 0. Love this guy. He was always welcoming to our pits. Breaks the 6.2 Raptor set up in the car. His wife drives 3 hours one way to pick up a motor.
Yep.
Puts it in, and then they start fighting with that motor, trying to get it ready. Didn't leave.
It had to self-clearance itself.
Yeah.
It was knocking. Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't leave Flying H till like the next morning or something crazy. There was a whole batch of people that didn't leave Flying H until
Well,
then.
It was him, and then there was, I can't remember the boys' names in the Camaro, but we stopped and checked on them with the rear end. They had a rear end problem, and my Tyson Alps, which is June's son, he stayed with them the whole time to help them. And so me and Brent stopped, and we can't get the crush collar to crush to get them. They couldn't get it. I mean, we had bars on everything trying to, and I said, listen, all I can tell you guys is we're not getting it. The only thing you can do is pull that rear end out of this car and take it to that gears place down there and have them go do something with it. So they did. They pulled the whole rear end out of it while he's got his motor pulled out. And then the Chevelle, they were doing head gaskets on the Chevelle over here on the other side over here. So they took it down to that guy. Well, come to find out that crush collar there was something wrong with it. Like it was a steel crush collar, but it wouldn't crush. So, so he's calling us. He's like, what do we do? The emergency sirens and stuff are going off for the tornado. And we're here over here. I said, well, where are you at? He says, well, we're out in the car. I said, well, go in the shop and tell them you guys need somewhere to go.
Man, those guys we spent, because you fed 4,500 plus tacos, that took a little bit of time for everybody to get through the line for the racer party. We got to hang out with those kids and see them, get the award and all that kind of stuff as we waited there. Man, they had a blast. That was the driver. I think that was like his second or third time to do one, first time driving. And then his co-pilot, it was his first time to be on one. And we were like, this is the best thing ever. There's never been anything as cool as what this is. So big shout out to them. Big shout out to the dude in the Mustang. Yes. They thrashed all week. Everybody that thrashed was still having a good time. It was like everybody had the right attitude for some reason. If they didn't, I guess they just went home. I didn't talk to them.
Well, there was a lot of that went home. So I know there was a lot of those. I don't exactly know what the whole number count was, but oh my God, there was a lot of people that fell out for sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one in the next one because the first car I want to talk about is mine. So hang on. Thanks a bunch to WAF Racing for being supporters of the program here. We appreciate them for everything they do for sure. And next up, Performer Built Transmissions. Love Ryan and the team up there. They're the official transmission builder of Drag Drive Repeat. They focus on GM transmissions, really hard focus on 4L60, 4L80 stuff, moving into some of the 6L equipment there, and have Howie Price's car that is now twin turbo and living 4,800 pounds, twin 80 millimeter turbos on a LS, living with the 4L60 that is like, I think 7,300 pounds fully loaded, pulling on a drag and drive. So absolutely crazy. Ryan knows what he's doing. If you have a GM Trans and want it to be built by the best Performer Built, is the way to go. So hang on, let me pull this down real quick. So I want to talk about the old truck. I have put a lot of miles on that. Probably, like I told Stoney earlier, 200 miles probably, and hard miles on it since we put it back together just to make sure it made it to Mega Week, because guys like Chris Story and everybody were beating me up in the Waffle House parking lot. So we got it ready for that. Tons of time to do that. Tons of street miles. All the fun stuff. I beat on it before I broke it the last time. And we make it 400 feet. And it literally grenades 2 pistons. So big shout out to another Race Week family, the Maxons. They have hooked us up with a 5.3 that was sitting in the corner of their shop, and it'll be back at the circuit. But just want to say that was the first drag and drive since 2022 that the truck had been out at. So pretty excited to have been out there.
Michael, that time we raced, who won that? I can't remember.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
Oh,
you did.
Okay.
And it wasn't like you won. It was like you put train links on me. Not just one train link. It was like 2 train links. We raced 1,320 feet, and he beat me by at least 1,450. It was bad. It was real bad. It won't happen like that again. Next time I'll only be behind by 300 feet.
So that's one of those situations when you blew it up and you only went 40 feet. So if you're lucky, you don't have a wife like mine that basically comes down and figures out the math of how many miles per dollar that you have into something. And you don't ever want them to do that to you because it is not good.
Yeah. I sent pictures to Melissa that was just like a bundle of parts in Steven's hand, like bits and pieces of a piston. And she went, ooh, like shit. I was like, we're broke. So, but it'll be back. It'll be back. It's going to be a ton of fun when we get back though. So let's talk about some fun cars as we move into, for the folks that are just coming in now, we're talking about Mega Week, the greatest event that's ever been hosted in Drag and Drive, 530 plus cars. We have Matt Frost, the host, promoter, creator of Rocky Mountain Race Week. And I want to talk about Carlos Astor right here, my man. He probably has the worst finish percentage in Rocky
Hands
Mountain.
down.
Struggles, always has done hard stuff the hard way. Man, he didn't this year. He got it right and got it figured out and finished. It was awesome to see him every day of the week. The first time I talked to him really with the camera in my hand, which is usually the bad juju. I don't want to go up and mess up anything for anybody, but usually when I do, it's the next day when they break. Carlos, we pull up beside him. He's on the side of the road, got a valve cover off. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I've done it now. I finally interviewed him at Thunder Valley. Now he's broke, but he didn't. It was a simple fix and they were back on the way. So big shout out to Carlos for taking what has been, historically a hard event for him, and going out just kicking ass and having determination to keep doing it.
Well, and he's always come back and he's always tried. And I think the biggest one was when the wagon went over the wall at Great Bend and just freaking tore that car to pieces. And then he had this car, but he's always been there. He's always tried hard, and it's always been disheartening when I see that thing come rolling in on the trailer. I'm like, damn it, not again. So we've had some of those. I mean, Royce Payton was the same for 3 years or 4 years in a row. He never made it out of the track or to the next track. And then he finally got it figured out, and look at what he's done with that Mustang now. But it's the same thing with Carlos. Like some of the stuff that these guys have done over the years and the learning, and you're right, they're not doing it with easy stuff. Royce's deal with the big blower deal, that's hard. With what Carlos is doing with the freaking big valves, big springs, big lift, nitrous, all that crap. It's just crazy.
Yep, that is for sure. Robert Voss here, another big shout out to him. I didn't grab a picture of his car, but says my attitude wasn't great on that last day, but he did give us one of the best quotes ever. This week sure has been a month. Yeah, that was I think that summed it up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then Richard Brewer here talking about one more bolt, which is their YouTube channel. Cole Coleman and Gina or something like that swapped head gaskets at Kansas City, then proceeded to run personal best the rest of the week. So
the Chevelle.
Yeah.
The Chevelle, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you were talking. Yeah, a minute ago.
Yeah.
Johnny Allen John Doherty saying, where does his conceived ride because his cojones ride shotgun? Oh yeah, dang it, Jamie Mackey. Now I know why I always interview with Narcs. I always break my car. Yep, dang it. Hey, and that actually did happen. I forgot about that. Yeah, we talked when they were at Tulsa. Their whole lineup, they brought 5 cars, super cool combos, all the stuff that went along with their whole thing. Talked to her. She gave me the walkthrough of every car that was in their group, and then I think she broke the next day. So sorry about that, Jamie. That was my fault. And Brian, same way.
One of the things we have to do when we break, 1320 stuck their camera in my face when I lost the wheel bearing when I was set the podium, the only time I ever have been. And I just come over and I was like, guys, do you really have to do this on this? Is this how I make 1320? And they just walked off, and those guys have never talked to me again. I regret the comment now, but it's like first thing they did is
right,
and I'm like,
in your face. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's like if you kicked me in the nuts, it wouldn't have hurt any worse.
Sure.
Yeah, it's from the media side, that's a real hard line to figure out. Like usually we kind of let folks cool down a little bit because selfishly, I want to know, I want to learn. Like, so when we broke the old truck, it didn't bother me not one single bit. Steven was a little upset. I was like, dude, as many times as we've beat on this truck, like the boost gauge goes to 20 and it's been buried so many times. Like that motor didn't know us anything. So,
well, the best way to do that is ask a friend. Don't ask the guy that's driving the car. Probably don't ask the guy that's the co-pilot, but the other guy that's already asked the questions and got yelled at, that's the guy you want to talk to.
Yeah, I usually walk up with the camera down like, is it safe?
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's funny. Yeah, Mike Baker saying same thing when Fred interviewed us after we hydroplaned. Worst interview ever. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
yeah.
bet. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
Breaking is Robert Voss. Breaking has always gotten me more recognition than winning. Hey, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Well, it's all of
That's
it. When you do a big old
Yeah.
wheelie and you knock the whole bottom of your car out, everybody wants to talk to you. You're a hero because
Yeah.
you did a big old wheelie. You know, didn't
Yep.
do
Yeah.
anything for you, but you did a big wheelie.
Yeah, we always love that. Another great story here. Tom Bagley and Danny Grubaugh. Man, those guys. I know there were 2 nights they were up all night. They were up for a solid like 30 plus hours. When they pulled into Texas, those guys had driven, I think, the last 200 miles or something like that at a max of 20 miles each time because the car was getting hot. They couldn't figure it out. So, like to come all the way from the UK, get the surprise of the car being basically rebuilt, all the new stuff, all the cool stuff, and then to still like have all of that struggle. It was so awesome.
It's not a mega week deal, but that reminds me of Hank in one of the years of race week. 300 pounds of ice they had used piled
what a
on top
great
of the
story.
freaking over the motor of the
Yeah.
car to get it over the mountains and into Bannerman.
Yes.
And it had, if I remember right, it had 0 coolant in it. It wouldn't hold coolant. They just packed it nice.
It's
Yep.
wild.
Yeah, he said they bought every bag of ice for like 150 miles or something crazy. Like that's a great story. Hank
Yeah.
Cronk just, absolutely removed it. Did that? I think they took the cold side piping off for the turbos and all kinds of, and then would just literally throw ice on top of it. Renee Gonzalez here says, "Damn it! So my advice about plastic bags on your cardboard doors is what killed our tranny on the way home."
Possibly.
Yeah, Robert Voss. Oil pressure is temporary, but the internet is forever.
That's for real.
From now on, you're gonna have to chase them. They're gonna be running when you come up with the camera. They're just gonna be run away.
Get away from me! Don't you talk to me. That's what Richard Brewer. YOLO. You're only losing oil. That's awesome. Yeah, big shout out to Tom Bagley, who, hey, coincidentally, is still looking for a wife here in the States. If anybody knows anybody wanting to get married, he's a great dude. Highly recommend him as a husband, so he can live here with. All
I
of
heard
us and
they
have
were.
lots of fun.
I heard they were trying to get my niece to marry him to make that work. That was
there
a
you go.
rumor, anyways. I wasn't sure what they were talking about at first, but I figured it out after a while.
That's awesome. Well, highly recommend that. Another person, Tom Nelson. Man, what a cool car.
Oh,
Dude.
and a great story there too with those
Yeah.
guys. It wouldn't run. Something to do with the ECU wouldn't work with the distributor or whatever. So those guys all pushed that car up there and sprayed a bunch of ether to it and got it fired up to double the bulbs to make sure that he stayed in. That was pretty awesome to watch him do that.
Yeah, Eric has a great shot. I wish I could have found it in time to put the slides in, but it's like Brian Havlick, like you can tell. He's like, I don't want to lose my eyebrows as he's spraying that stuff into the blower.
Well, they had the trunk open, and I'm like, "Hey guys," I said, "Why don't you just get a water bottle and just put some gas in the water bottle and squirt that?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, let's do that too." So then by that time, they'd already sprayed like 2 cans of ether to it. I'm like, "This can either really work or this is gonna go really bad. That blower is gonna say, see you later."
Yeah, right. Ryan Wing says, I got them a distributor in Dallas at 3 a.m.
Nice.
Yeah, he drove it into the hotel. We stayed at the same hotel as him. He drove it in, backed it in the spot. I guess after that, it said, no, thank you. Yeah, Tom's a badass dude. That's funny.
Who else? Somebody else had to break the beams too. I can't remember who it was. They brought it up there and they broke the beams with it, and then they backed it back out. Oh, it was Tina. That was when Tina did that. She'd had problems with it prior to the shootout. We were at Ennis and she was having problems and had to go. They had to basically do the same thing. They had it running on ether and got it up in there. I think Blake Hughes helped her figure out how to get it running, and then they had David in the passenger seat filling it or running it with ether to get it to the line so she could stay in competition. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I think at some point, especially when you're that far from home, it becomes the survival.
Absolutely.
Like, I'll go through the stats and see how many people drop day one, and then because after the day one drop, it levels out a lot more. It's not like you're losing 3 or 4% every day.
Well, you're not sitting right there by the trailer, and it's not easy to go back at that point. You're committed at that point.
Yeah, right. Another big big car here, Randy Seward. I mean, just an animal.
I got a story for him. That was pretty funny.
Lay it on us.
Oh yeah, he's in the line, and I walk over there, and somebody oiled the track down or something, and he's all buckled in there. So I open the door for him so he could get some air. He didn't know who he was talking to. I don't think. I know he didn't, because he goes, "We're talking," and I said, "Was it going okay?" And this was on test day, and he goes, "I don't know what the hell this guy was thinking. 500 and some cars in one event. He's out of his mind." Like, and I didn't say nothing. Like, I didn't say who I was or nothing. I said, well, it'll work itself out. And I'm working the door for him or whatever. And then finally they fire him up. So then I go back at the end of the week and I go over there and I said, I know you didn't know it was me you were talking to. I said, but how'd the week go after it all figured? Oh, well, after I figured out that it was, A and B group and it went really good. He's like, it was a good time. But I thought, I'm like, oh, I loved it because he was honest. He was telling me how it was because he didn't know who I was, But it was
That's
that'll
awesome.
always stick with me, I think.
Yeah, he's at Big Sky Race Week right now. I can't believe it. Like he sent me a message the other day. He's having hip surgery at the end of July, and he's like, I don't know if I'll be done by the time Drag Week comes around. I don't know if I'll be fully rehabbed to where I can spend time in the car. He's like, so I wanted to hit big events before then, and to have him at Mega Week was pretty cool. Reset the record that had been standing for a good while. In A group. So just super cool. This car really just works so well. We were talking about the Big Sky numbers. He's in third place overall with this car up against like Royce Payton and Jason Acton in the hearse. And I mean, he's like 100th behind Royce Payton right now at Big Sky. Wow. It's crazy. That car just absolutely works.
He's got it figured out. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Robert Voss says, I went through $700 worth of alternators.
Oh my gosh.
Twisted Iron here says surviving the week is not an easy thing to do. That is for sure. And I think that let's talk about that for a minute, because that's kind of the badge of honor. I mean, you give certified streetcar stickers, and I think as we see more of those on cars and years go by, that'll be something that's really important. That'll be something that's really stand out. Like people will be like, look, I mean, I have the sticker. I drove the 1,200 plus miles, depending on the event, in a Rocky Mountain Race Week setting. That's just so cool, man, to really be, I mean, it's got to be one of the hardest events that's out there. And I think that's, again, we go back to saying you got to do hard stuff in your life. Like,
you do. And it's the, and I know it's a controversial thing for me to talk about with everybody, but 600 miles versus a 12 to 1,300 mile deal, you can't compare that. Like until you've done 1,000-mile drag and drive, or I don't care if it's ours or not. I don't care who you do it. If you have never done that, the standard has always been 1,000 miles or more. And for everybody that's been before us, the greatest of the great that have done this, the Lutzes and the Larsons and the Joe Barrys and all those great guys that have put in that work. And even myself, like I did the whole entire race week with my car without a trailer, which was a huge accomplishment for me. I mean, me and Brent did it, and we had an awesome time. Luckily, we didn't have no problems with the car other than some minor normal stuff. But until you've done that, it's hard to watch people be like, we've just set records and we've done this and done that on a 600-mile drive deal. Because if you haven't been out here in the thick of it, and people are like, well, I don't understand why you're so upset about that. I'm upset about it because of how that looks and what we've all gone through. And that's kind of where the world we're at. A 14er, are you going to go, we're going to go climb a 14er mountain or whatever, or run however many miles that these people run and do all that. Well, somebody comes along and wants to shorten it up and make that half of that. We're going to go halfway up the mountain because we want more time to hang out and do all that stuff. Well, those guys didn't do the work that the guys did that went all the way to the top. And that's all I'm saying. I'm not bagging on their event. They have a great event. They're doing great. But the mileage part of it just doesn't seem right to me for what the history of what we do.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the toughest things right now, is because we're seeing this insane amount of growth within the community. We talked about a few minutes ago, like what is the right mileage? What is the minimum stuff? And when we went for the world champion point stuff, when we went to 500, it was because of Six Summer. Because on our opinion, 85 miles a day proves you have a street car, right? Like if you can race at a different track every day for 5 days and drive it, I'm not going to say 85 miles is the right number. It's probably more like 125 if you start doing like a 5-day event,
Right.
So, but that proves it. The hard part is an event like yours proves you're a badass because you did it, right? And I think it really takes all of that from our side. I feel like it takes all of that for the sport to grow, because there's some folks that look at 1,000 or more miles and they would stay away forever.
Sure, they would.
They'll look at something maybe like Six Summer with 600 and something miles, and they're like, oh, well, maybe I can do that. And so that helps bring them in. Again, it goes back, I think, to what I love about Rocky Mountain is like it's unapologetically the hardest drag, especially when you guys were in the mountains, right? Like especially when you were making those drives, and like it was a rule then. Your trailer had to have brakes.
Yep.
Like you couldn't, So I think that's one of the biggest benefits to, one, the growth, but then two, just your not stubbornness, but your want to stay hard. Like you could make your events shorter miles, but why? Like that's not Rocky Mountain.
No, that goes against the grain of what, to me, that goes against the grain of what this has always been. And that's, to me, that's that challenge. That's that challenge. I mean, I would like to see us get to where we could be at 1,000. I don't
Yep.
necessarily think we need to be that 1,300, but some of the geographic areas of where we go, you don't have that opportunity. If you're going to
Yep.
do 1,000, you're going to have to do 1,300. And it's just like we wanted to go try that new track of Flying H. Well, when I started looking at, I was sweating it. When I looked at the mileage on that, when we were doing that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, is there any way we can shorten this? Because I think these guys are going to lose their mind when I tell them that we're almost going to go 500 freaking miles in one day,
In one day,
So,
But
but
again,
everybody,
the drive day.
they did it, and
Yep.
when you can see somebody like Goldstone, that's the biggest, the baddest of all, he can do that, and not only do it the way that he did it, but doubled up and everything else. You think that would inspire more of the guys that think they're the baddest of the bad to come try to do that, because then you can beat your chest. I did the baddest, hardest, roughest deal, and I pulled it off, and there ain't nobody badder than me because I did it and I laid that number down. And I don't know. It just I guess there's a difference in thought process. For me, that's my thought process. If I've got time to do one, I'm doing one that's going to do the mileage that needs to be done, because I don't think that anything else matters at that point.
Yeah, and I certainly appreciate that for sure. And that's what I think is so much fun about what you do. Because even like race week, which typically kind of follows what we did with Mega Week, like it's still very hard. Like cruising those miles is very hard. Driving those miles is very hard. The people trying to make money or are living off of Drag and Drive are the ones watering it down. I don't know if I want to get into all that, but I think there's
you better not.
There's definitely some money grab there. But I don't think it's necessarily like, oh man, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to grab this money. I think they want to be involved in the community, but there are several promoters that have never done a Drag and Drive that are hosting Drag and Drive events. And I feel like I had this conversation with somebody that was debating on doing it. I'm like, come to the circuit, come do a weekend event, get in your hot rod and just drive along, do the hard thing so you know what to look for.
Yeah.
And so you have to at least do that. So when a lot of folks are looking, but at the same time, if a watered down version, if a 2-day event was 50 miles, does that bring in 10 more people? Does that bring in 20 more people? Well,
it does total, but it gives them that false sense that they're doing the big deal, and not on the weekend stuff. I look at the weekends as the pre-runner to figure out what you need to do to go do the bigger events. But then when
we're the gateway drug. We're the gateway drug for sure.
But then when the bigger ones start to shorten themselves up, then it kind of gives this false sense of that's the norm. And I'd like to see people say, okay, I did the 600, now I need to go try to do the 1,000, or then I need to go try to do the 1,300 and do that. But it doesn't. I don't think it ever correlates that way. And maybe some of that's just because it doesn't get pushed. We want to stay in one spot and we don't want to move our people into other spots. And I get that. That's just business. Part of this for other people, it's about the business side of it. For me, it's about the people and about the challenge. And there's just always going to be that difference with what we do.
Yep. Jason Schaefer says, how many miles were most of the original drag weeks? I think typically 1,000 was.
Yeah, there was some that were. We've seen some that were 1,400 miles. I remember there was one that at least was a 1,400 mile deal, but generally it's always been somewhere between 1,000 and 1,300 miles. And that's why I based what we were doing off of that as far as mileage goes. Of course, it kind of worked itself out with how we laid out race, Rocky Mountain Race Week, that it had to be that way. We didn't have no choice.
Yeah. Jason Schaefer, you're saying Lutz's records need to remain unless his mileage was matched. The hard part about record keeping for us is that, yes, he does have the fastest overall, what we call national event, right? Week long, all that kind of stuff. But Drag Week moves all the time. That is one thing that's been interesting about Sick Week and Sick Summers. They have stayed at the same tracks now for 3 years, 4 years for Sick Week. We've never really seen that. No, it's never been that it's been the same, because I think for a lot of promoters, they wanted to experience different tracks. I know that was kind of the way it was for us with the circuit. We did Ozark and Mocan. We typically had Mocan as a host. Now we're doing Tulsa to Mocan, and we're looking at other stuff for next year.
But the other side of that, the double-edged sword of that, though, is then you try, if you start making if you keep going to the same place over and over, your spectators and stuff get accustomed to you going there and showing up. And then when you move it, trying to get that same amount of people, and that's where it's tough for like us, because at the end of the day, all of the money that we get from the racers and the sponsors, and like I said, we've got some great sponsors that have, started to come in, Driven and Summit and, Quick Performance. Some of these bigger guys are starting to come in and help us. And, Motion has always been a great support of us or whatever, but, and done a lot to help us grow. But all that money goes to what we're doing. So what we're looking for is try to get the spectator count in there so that we can be healthy through the year and be able to grow. And when you move tracks like that, but I guess there can be that sort of it too, that you may be missing out if you don't move yourself sometimes. You might be in a stale area and you might find a spot where you got a lot of people that want to come and see what you're doing. So it's hard though. It's hard to get out of your comfort zone.
I love that it typically we see different tracks, because it gives me an opportunity to add that track to my list, because I would never go to one of the tracks. I've been to all the tracks that we raced on Rocky Mountain, but for some of those events, I would have no reason to go there unless it was a Drag and Drive,
and
which is awesome.
And that's where I'm kind of at now that I can and see that we're not, we're trying to get to that point where the spectator count doesn't create the issue for us. I want to start doing the same thing. Like, I'm ready to go visit. And that's what I said, when you see what happens if we do another Mega Week, deal, it's going to be in a different area because I'm ready to go see different stuff. I think everybody else is ready to go see different things. You can't never, you can do the Rocky Mountain stuff all the time because you're never going to get, it's never going to get old going to the mountains and doing all that stuff. Like that one itself, you can keep doing that all the time. But when you start talking, when we do 2.0 and stuff like that, we need to go different places and see different things because I'm to that point too where I want to visit these other tracks we've never been to before.
Yep. Real quick, I want to talk about this. Jesse Hazlitt made this comment on the Rocky Mountain Race Weekers post earlier this week too. But he says, is there a thought process to change point system in the Drag Drive Repeater Drag and Drive Championship based on mileage or change mileage requirements for qualifying events? Minimum mileage, probably not. I think that probably just about proves you have a street car. You can do that. Car count, obviously, we're looking for something in the 120s or above. What I think, and I'll look at it for sure. I said in the post that I don't want to push people towards an event. I also don't want to make it so hard on me finding the points that it becomes a pain in the ass. Because when you start making a whole bunch of rules for something, people hate it, right? So it's been as simple as possible, right? When we basically laid that out, there were 7 or 8 events that qualified. Now there's like 12 or 13. So we can start looking at some of that. An event that would be 1,000 miles or more would benefit to have an extra point. Or, man, I don't know if I could do 2 points, but like maybe that could be an extra point for someone that came and did an event that is longer than your standard. Maybe I find out what the average is. The problem is if I assign that additional point to, we'll use Rocky Mountain Race Week as an example. When I assign that point in December of 2025, and then it comes out in, February or whatever, we don't know the mileage, unless the promoter has the tracks locked in already and kind of has an idea of route. It would be like, how do I assign that?
Well, can't you just add it after the fact though? Like maybe it's once you've seen that they've completed it and it's this much mileage, then they get that extra point. So it's not something that's given right off the bat.
I feel like it has to be at least 90 days in advance, so people can
get that
plan around it.
I got you.
Because that's really what stuck us with Six Summer. Because beforehand we had a 600-mile minimum, and then, again, I don't know the route. I can find out typically, or I can send the promoter a question and say, "Hey, do you know about how many miles you're going to run?" And they'll say, "Have no idea."
I see what you're saying because you want to give the guys the opportunity to pick that to get that extra point if that's what they want to do. But like you said, then that in that sense, then that's you. It can be construed as you being biased towards an event.
And that too. And I definitely don't want to do that. But it is worth more, in my opinion. It is harder to do an event that is 1,000 miles or more.
Sure.
But if there are 2 events that are 1,000 miles or more, and there's 8 events that are not 1,000 miles, like, is it worth the extra points to give those to racers that are competing in Rocky Mountain Race Week at 1,300? Is that fair to everyone else? Because, hey, maybe they couldn't, would Six Summer ever be 1,000-mile event? Probably not ever, because they're not going to have any reason to drive 400 miles extra than what they do now. But as we move into, this is all uncharted territory. Like, this is uncharted. People have collected stats forever. Nobody's ever done what we're doing.
No.
So, 2 years we didn't have extra points. I'll talk to the people that are kind of on this committee helping me put this together and discuss that, because maybe that would push more events to be 900 miles or more. Hey, all we gotta do is add an extra 1 route stop and we're there, and our racers get extra points. So, I can figure it out from there. So that is something that I'm definitely looking at, Jesse, just so you understand, because this year's going to be tough for everybody to beat Randy Seward if he wins this class at Big Sky Racing. I'm just telling you. So it's going to be tough because we want people to fight for this and want people to go after it. So,
but what's wild is that we've gotten to a point now where it's not a work together type of thing anymore, and that's the hard part about it. I'm just going to say it straight out there. Like, we're doing this, we're doing that. There's a line drawn in the sand. We're not going to work together to come to a common ground on all this stuff, and that makes it hard. Like, I'd like to see us have some kind of standard, some point that there's got to be some kind of standard for the awards, for the records, for all of that stuff. But I don't know I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, just because of the different thought process of how all this stuff works.
And we've talked about sanctioning bodies. That phrase keeps getting kind of tossed out there. The reality is promoters don't need a sanctioning body. No. They don't, and there's no reason that you guys would need one. That's why we've never started one, because there's
we've seen what that does. We've seen what sanctioning bodies does to stuff.
Right. Like, and there's NHRA, IHRA, WDRA, ADRL, Midwest Drag Race I mean, like you can go down a whole range of list of stuff that has their own set of rules, and it just doesn't work, especially for what we're trying to do here within Drag and Drive, which is at this point grow the sport. Like at the end of this year, there's going to be 5,000 people that compete in a Drag and Drive, and if you take out if it's unique people, there's probably 3,500. We're still so very very small.
Well, it's
We're
still
not
very new. It's very.
Yeah.
People act like they when they talk about it, like oh, it's big. It isn't. In the grand scheme of drag racing, this is a very small community of people because it just isn't to that point yet. You know, I mean, you're getting there because a lot of people are starting to realize I don't want to just be in a seat and go drag race on the weekend. I want to go spend some time with my car. What's really been cool, I think, where I see with it is it's not only are they drag and driving now, you have so many more people that are actually now their car's capable of going to the local cruise night and going to the Sonic and doing those things where they weren't doing a lot of that stuff before. So it's really you turn the community in a positive way in a lot of different ways than what we just see in our weekly deals that we do.
Yep. Tom Bagley here with a great question. Do you get an extra point for being an idiot and double entering? We maybe should have looked at that going in because I think some of the folks that double entered should have gotten extra points for the championship side. But the problem is like from our side of stuff, when technically it was limited, it wasn't open to everybody. So then you can't like, hey, only these 10 people can get this extra point. That's not fair. And then John Gilman here, great question again. Could you do ratings for events by mileage and difficulty? We can do that. But again, I don't have the routes when we're looking at the events that are going to be eligible as we move into, I'm trying to get everything done by PRI because a lot of folks, like by then people are signed up for sick week. They got to know Tom Bagley here. I'm never doing it again. He's never doing double events again.
Yes, he will.
I'll call BS.
Yeah. So anyways, we don't know a lot of times what tracks these are. We don't even know what events are going to be hosted by them. We have a pretty good idea that the major ones are going to be there. And I'm trying to get everything out by PRI because everybody's signing up for events in November, December, January, February. They're trying to make their plan. If they're going to make a run at this points championship, they need to know which events they're going to qualify for.
What does a weekend event get any kind of points at all? How do you have that structured? Nothing?
No, not yet. Just because I feel like the weekend stuff is still so broad. There's still so many. It's the Wild West for sure. At least with the national events, you kind of have a structure. Everybody bases their stuff on averages. The regional events, weekend stuff, nah. Because you have like Back to the Streets, you have Heads Up Hustle, you have all that stuff that don't award their standings for winners are not based on averages, which is how we require stuff to do, plus 4 days of racing.
Gotcha.
Or scheduled days of racing.
Very good.
And just right here, honestly, one of the reasons I double class was I thought I could get some extra points. So it's the 10-0 championship because I thought 1,000 miles, 2 classes. I assumed the sad part is my way of looking at that is you made the drive one time. I know it's a really long drive. I know that, but you really only made the drive one time. And for events like Southeast Street Meet is a great example. They'll let you double enter classes. That's 700 miles for that one. It's not fair to those guys that double enter and make that many passes to not get the extra point. So it really becomes like this. It would look like I would be like, oh, well, hey, I'm giving all these extra points to Matt and the Rocky Mountain Race Week team, because they're harder and they're doing Mega Week and they're doing more miles. And so it's a very, very, very fine line that we're walking there because, I mean, again, we're in uncharted territory. Anyways, all of that to say this, dude, you're a badass. I loved Mega Week. It was really one of the coolest events I've ever been on, seeing all those people. And now that the cart's running, I got to get it given away and then I can get back in the old truck and we can turn it up and I can race. Damn it. I want to do some racing. I still have not finished a Drag and Drive as a racer. So I got to do that.
You got to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not even my own event. It was by choice, but like we made people do 3 passes in one day. And when it came to the second one, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. So anyway, so I got to do that. So that's the plan, hopefully for Mega Week or Race Week, Rocky Mountain, whatever we're going to do in 2026. So lead us out. Kind of what can you tempt us with this post? You're saying that, hey, we're looking at another Mega Week maybe in the near future.
Well, I mean, I definitely at least for the June one, I want to try to get back here. It's all hinged on Great Bend really at this point because I know I really don't foresee Bandimere being open next year. There's still talk that Great Bend can be open next year. If that's the case, then we'll come back here for our June event.
That'd be awesome.
And then I've kind of seen, the areas. I don't know. I don't know where we're gonna go. I kind of torn a little bit because there's a lot of really cool stuff. Some of the stuff that I'm looking at does overlap some of the tracks that Six Summer goes to, not only for their only reason because they're really cool tracks, so there might be something we might look at with that or whatever. But a know, a lot of the vendors were kind of like, hey, you know, this really works for us to do this double event, and that it's just because you get so many more people involved in it, and it worked well. So I don't know, I'm crazy, I guess. I think we need to probably try to do it again and see if we can make it work, you know.
I love it.
Sure.
I think it would be awesome. John Githman, Smoky Mountain Race Week.
Listen, there's a part of that I have to look at the mileage, because you got to understand that when I'm off, there's nobody running my semi truck, so there's nobody making any money around here. So some of it I have to look at how far we go, because I will go broke before I get home. So no, it's like we talked. I want to do some different stuff. I want to go to some different tracks. Some of those places are beautiful areas. You know, some of it you got to look at too, of, you know, how dangerous the areas are with, you know, that's something I always look at too, is are the theft areas and stuff like that, and try to stay away from that. I mean, there's a lot that goes into the thinking and thought process of how I look at these things to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a bad situation. And, you know, sometimes some of it we just have to, you know, throw caution to the wind and we do it. But I still look at it as an aspect of what's going to be safe for you guys. You know, it's even like when we were, you know, the stuff that they're doing up there at Big Sky. I looked at that a long time ago to go up there, but like Yellowstone didn't even have any. It was dirt all the way to the racetrack, and that was an issue. And then the other issue is with us doing night racing and stuff like that. I was worried, you know, on the drives and stuff like that, where we're going to end up as they're coming out of there. Wildlife and stuff like that always plays a role in my thought process. So obviously they're making it work. You know, maybe it was a mistake for me not to do it. I could have probably got up there and got that done at some point. But I look at those kind of things like, you know, thefts and animals and all those kind of crazy things run through my mind when I think about where we're going.
Yeah, I can't imagine the other thought of that is you've got to find a place that's capable of holding that many cars.
That's it.
You know, like, I don't know. I mean, Tulsa does a good job, but tracks like you would overrun Mocan with that many cars.
Absolutely.
And then how do you put 1,000 spectator cars or 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 spectator cars around there? I know they probably have some events that are like that, but could we do it? You know?
Well, and that's the part of it too, is just having that discussion with them. What is the most cars you've had on the track? I mean, the one thing that we do have going for us, I think that, you know, we don't ever think about is if you tell me that you put 300 cars on a property on a given time, I know we can do 600 because there's 300 tow rigs that are sitting next to those cars on that 300 car property. So I know when you tell me how many cars you have, I can double that up because of the rigs, and I know we can make that work.
Yeah. And John Gilman here, you know, trying to find a track that can handle fast cars too. That's within mileage. I think Adam Dory said that best, was like the hardest part is now you have this pool of tracks in your area you're looking in. Now how many can host this? Now how many can handle the fast cars? Now how many can do that? And you really start narrowing it down. And man, you do a great job. I know from just my little experience in my weekend events is tough. I can't imagine what it's like putting together what you do. And I just, man, it's inspiring. It's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. And I mean, that even goes down to that too, like guardrails. You know, if I got bikes, we got bikes. So a guardrail track versus a K-barrier track, like I have to look at those. I'll think, oh yeah, this is a cool track. We'll do an aerial shot over the track and look at it. Oh, well, we can't run there. So that kills that. And then the other part of it is, you know, I'm sure you've dealt with some of this, but you have to know that you got good people at the tracks that you're going to deal with management wise too. Like there's some stuff that's been hurdles that people don't see behind the scenes. It's like, holy crap, I got my ass handed to me and I got blindsided. I mean, there's some stuff I got blindsided on over the years that's cost me dearly, but I've already got you guys locked in. You've already paid your money. We're already supposed to go there. They got me bent over a barrel. I have to do this.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of things that get, you know, there's a lot of process. And what, you know, I think the difference with me and some of the other people is it's just us. Like we don't have a team to do this. Me and June are the ones that are doing it. And then we have all of our volunteers that come in, and that's the only way we can really, you know, a lot of the time that's the only way you can afford to do it, because there's so much cost involved with, you know, as well as I do. You add another person or you do this, that's more money that goes out. That's more money that goes out. And my biggest thing is over the years is even being scared to get big sponsors in and not know if they would come in the next year or not. Because if you raise that bar for your business and your event, and then that's not there anymore, now you got to go backwards. Well, who the hell wants to go backwards with their event? That doesn't look good for anybody. So you try to keep it on that level of living within your means in a sense, to make sure that you're not overdoing it and then ruining yourself later on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. One last topic, and this is probably something I should have given you a heads up on, but I just thought of it. Let's talk about ticket pricing, because I feel like it's too cheap, to be honest. I feel like we are, as a community, our stuff is too inexpensive. When you start kind of factoring in, like these folks are just in entry fees for themselves and the cars to race at each track 5 days a week would typically cost what they're paying in tickets. So,
Absolutely.
I think in the next few years, are we going to start seeing the need for stuff to go up?
You have to. I mean, we have to. We're in a position where we don't have a choice. The tracks are seeing what we're doing. They're raising their prices. Everything we're doing is costing us more money. And the only way that we're going to be able to keep these events healthy is to keep moving it up. And we hate that. Like I struggled with wanting to raise ticket prices for spectators from 15 to 20 bucks because I'm thinking that $5 that means a lot to a lot of people. You got and so, but the reality of it is if we don't start moving our pricing up to be able to survive this, I mean, because here's the thing, like, I mean, I'll be straight up with you. This double event, everybody kept telling me, and everybody kept taking money away from me, thinking, "Oh, it's going to be cheaper for you because you already have the track rented." It didn't work that way, guys. Like no. What happened is now I have only the spectators for that demographic for that one period. I didn't split it between two, so I don't know that I can adjust. There's those things, and then the track see what you're doing, so they're raising their prices on you. Like all that stuff comes together, and then you are at the end of it, you're like, "Oh well, I had to double these guys because they had 4 employees, and I had to double my hotel rooms, and I had like all that stuff." So yes, when we start looking at this as we go forward, and it scares you because you're always scared to do that. But like you said, reality is when you go to any track on any given day to go race, right? Whether it's test and tune or whatever, you're guaranteed you're going to spend $100 at least on a test and tune night. If you're going to a regular race event where you're racing, you're going to probably spend between $250, $300 just for that one event that you're doing. So what we're doing right now is way low. Honestly, like it almost, I mean, it's sickening to even talk about it, but you almost have to be damn near double where you're at. We're going to see that in the near future because there's no way we're going to be able to keep doing it the way we do it. None of us are.
It's really surprised me that we've seen just little increases every year, but typically like what I feel like is just like a fees change. You know what I mean? It hasn't been a big jump. I think we're probably close to what you're seeing.
Yeah. What do you think?
And
Sean?
in the grand scheme of things, why? I mean, for one, you guys take a week out of your life to make this happen, and you need something for that. You had to pay the rent, you had to pay the insurance, you had to buy awards, you have to all the things that you have to do. Like if it goes up $200 or $300, $400, I'm not going to be like, well, I ain't doing it no more.
Right.
I mean, it wouldn't affect me at all on what I think of. I mean, like even when we go to Michael's race, we pay the entry fee, and then I spend at least $200 to $300, $400 on giving to the charity.
Right.
Just for random things at the charity, because that's what we're actually doing it for.
Sure. Sure.
But if your race goes up $200, $300, $400, I'm not going to be like, well, I ain't doing it no more. I'll just be like, well, just gotta figure it out.
Yeah. And that is one thing too. Like, go ahead.
Well, it's just like Doherty just said. It's the cheapest part. Like the tires that I had to get for this last race cost more than entry fee.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, and for us, like it's crazy because there was a couple years where it was really good, and I'm watching. I pay attention to what's going on, and some places you got spectators loaded in there, and I know what that does for your event. I know with us not having spectators, what that does for us. All I'm trying to even do is just even make enough money just to cover June's wages for a year, what she could make for a job, just so that she can stay home and do this. And there's times where we don't even do that. Like there's times where we don't make it to that point. But for me, and I'm not crying about it. I don't want anybody to think that that's the case. We always make sure that we do well with whatever we do. But it's like that's why I constantly say, it's up to everybody to try to help get those people in those seats. But where we're at with it, I think, and I've talked about this before, it's just like what happened with No Prep and everything else. It's great that this is getting as big as it is, but it gets the sponsors so spread thin that they can't offer the money that they can't used to be able to offer because they're out there all in all these lands and putting all this money in there. So what that ends up doing is that makes it for we have to increase our pricing to make sure that we stay above and above, because honestly, like if we can't stay healthy, any of us that are doing this, we cannot continue to keep doing these events because we can't afford to at some point.
Yeah. Well, and the other side of that too is I've preached this about my work with Tulsa Raceway Park. If you charge more, let's look at Street Outlaws as a great example. If you charge more for tickets, you can put on a better show.
Yes.
Right. Yep. So if you take that thought process into everything else, it all should go up, because it's not like most drag and drive promoters are not standing there going, oh man, I'm going to make so much money. They may think that when they go to host their first one, right. I'll tell you just ask them dudes after that first one, it was like,
yeah, they're like,
it was all this money.
I only know one that's doing it for the money, and I'm not going. I mean, I think that goes without saying. So.
I don't think he's doing it anymore. but
No,
that hasn't
that's
been
not the one.
confirmed officially on the page.
That's not the one I'm. That's not the one I'm
Oh.
talking about. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, but you're right. Like it's when people, I told them, I've told some guys that have called me and I said, listen, I said, here's some things you need to know. And if
Yeah.
if you don't prepare yourself to go in, if you're, for us, it's crazy because of the amount of money that we put out in payouts. But the guys that don't, like, you better prepare that you have. My biggest thing has always been is always make sure that you have enough money to cover whatever it is that you did, and you got to walk away with that either putting some money in. I make sure that they understand, like, you better have some money in your account, because if you walk away from this and you don't pay your bills, you're done. Your name's done.
Yeah.
Everything's done. And we've seen it. We've seen
Agreed.
guys try to do it, and they're like, okay, I got to cancel this and call it off, because I think you start realizing that, when a track for one day costs you $17,000 to $20,000 for one day, you're like, well, 150 people at $300 is not going to cover that for a week,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can't imagine the t-shirt apparel cost you guys have leading into an event. I know what the circuit costs, and
it's
it
astronomical.
scares me.
And we've even done that. Like, we've started, June makes the hats now. She does all that. She does the printing of all the girls' shirts and all that stuff, just so that we can kind of keep that cost down, and that's what what gets me is the guys that are always mad at you because you won't give them a refund. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, your money that you paid in is already spent.
It's gone,
Yeah.
buddy. Yeah, it's gone. You can preach that to the choir. Well, listen, what are some last things you want to tell folks? We've gone over, but I think it's been well worth it, man.
You know what? All I want to say is it's been a hell of a ride. I would have never thought that I think we're at 16 events and 10 years or whatever that is. I think that's what it comes out to be. And if you counted this as two, it would be 17. But it's been great. Like, I don't think I ever would have thought that I would have been in this situation with this many people all over the world. It's just amazing that I don't want to say that, to my own horn, but touched people, and then also have these relationships with all these people and all you guys and everything like that. Like, it's been really good. And, we're going to continue to push on as long as everybody wants to keep doing what we're doing and be there and support it. Like, I don't know. It's pretty cool to see that we get to, we're a percentage of people that do these drag and drives, and the world doesn't have any idea what they're missing out on. And they don't get to see really how real people live, because that's really what it comes down to. And I don't care who you are, get out there and do it. Whether it's ours, whether it's Drag Week, whether it's any of them, remember that 600 miles doesn't get you the whole complete bragging rights. But anyways, go out there and do whatever, go do these events, go support your local one, come see us, come try any of them, but get out there and do it, because if you don't know that if you have no idea, it will change your life forever. And I'm super grateful for being able to do what we've done and I enjoy it. Like, we enjoy it every year to go out there, and sometimes I'm like, I'm done, but when I get to hang out with the people, it's great. And one other thing, so it's not going to make up for it, but John Doherty he got messed up on his trophy at the awards. Like, it got messed up. That's the hardest part, I think, about what we do, is we're so fast moving things into the awards. I hate awards because it's so rushed trying to get everything done. There were some mistakes that were made, but we're getting him his trophy. We're getting him the right one for him. And as long as he's not too mad and he comes back, he's got a free spot for any of our events next year to try to make up for that. And I apologize. It's a big deal to me that we missed that, but I want to make sure at least the world that we're in right here, talking on here, that he gets recognized that he did win second place in a big block. So
That's awesome. That's
I got
really
that
cool.
right? In a big block. I did screw that up too.
Yep. Lastly, real quick, last question, then we'll send you on your way. How can I enter race weekend from Danny Gruba, or are there spots left? Race weekend, for folks that don't know, first weekend in September at Pueblo.
Yep, it'll be a super cool deal. We'll do our normal tech and race on the same day, and then we're gonna go on the first. So that'll be the first race day on Friday. Saturday we're gonna do a drive. We actually rented I always get this screwed up. I don't know if it's the Royal Gorge or the Grand Canyon, because I screw it up every time. But it's the Royal Gorge, isn't it?
Royal Gorge.
Yeah. So we rented that so we can drive across the bridge, hang out in the park, take some really cool pictures. Then I think we're gonna go up to Bishop's Castle, and then the next day, and then come back and race that night, and then the next day. So you'll do a 2-day average. Then we'll do, like we normally do, we'll do a shootout on the last day, but we'll drive first. Probably either go to Garden of the Gods or up Cripple Creek. Just a real cool mountain drive. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be laid back. I'm gonna try to, as long as this piece of crap back here ain't blowed up by then, because we're doing Havlicks, I'm gonna run that. June's gonna drive her car. We're gonna try to get everybody that normally is behind the scenes actually being involved in this. We might have a small live feed, and I don't think we're gonna have Adam Adam announced, we'll see. But it's kind of just going to be a laid back deal. But if you want to get in on it, you can go to the Rocky Mountain Race Week website right now. There's still tickets available as of right now for the first set. And then in July, I think it's the 12th. I'll have to go back and look. We'll do another run of tickets where you sign up, like everybody tries to get on there and sign up type deal.
That's awesome. Yeah, I sheepishly am excited about you coming into some of this regional, like the weekender type events, because I think you're gonna love it. It's so cool because it really is kind of a little laid back. It's a great weekend. It's good time to hang out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Richard says I'll see you at the Havlik race. So I'm sure you're bringing the car down for that. That's going to be a blast.
Yep, I'm gonna try to. I'm coming to redeem myself. We didn't get exactly where we wanted to be last year, and I'm coming for it.
That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, guys, if you don't already follow Matthew E. Frost on Facebook, you need to do that. Rocky Mountain Race Week, RMRWERS Facebook group. This guy's one of the easiest promoters to get a hold of. Don't ask him questions. Don't send him, hey, I'm thinking about starting one. What do I need to know? That's not the question to start with. I promise. Right. You don't want to have that conversation. It's no fun. But Matt, I appreciate our friendship. I appreciate all the times that you do take my phone call and ask dumbass questions like that. And dude, you're awesome. You're great for the sport. And man, changed my life, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys, everybody, all the racers, you guys. Like I said, I really appreciate what you're doing for the sport. You're in it for the right reasons. It's just awesome. It's just to see, we keep talking, we kind of got to go back to that grassroots stuff. And I feel like for you, that's part of that grassroots side of it.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. We need a lot more of that grassroots side of things. And it'll grow. You're growing, and you'll just keep growing because you're doing it for the right reasons. So thank you.
I appreciate that. All right. I'm going to kick you backstage, and me and Sony going to end this thing out. And then we'll so stay backstage. Hang on. That's what I'm saying. Stay backstage. We'll talk for just a minute. All right. Let's do this thing, dude. Guys, again, thanks so much to Performable Transmissions, Ryan and the team up there, GM Transmissions. Just send your stuff to them. They have it. Call him, text him, Facebook message, Performable if you have any kind of questions on GM Trans. They do some Ford stuff, but they typically like to be the best. And that's why they're called Performable. They're not built just to do stock stuff. They like to do fun stuff. And episode 111, I don't even know who I'm going to talk to, what I'm going to talk about, but I know it's probably going to be Dragon Drive related and probably has to do something with Dragon Drive events and racers and people that are our race car friends. So thank you guys so much. The views tonight have been great. The comments have been awesome, man. Having everybody come in here, make comments, ask questions. I feel like we had a lot deeper conversations tonight than we have had typically on these. I think that's what's great about Matt. Again, up front, I told Jonathan, hey, I don't have any topics for us to go over. I told Matt the same thing. I just figured we could talk, and man, that's what we did. It was awesome to hang out here with you guys tonight. Yeah. So I hope, Jonathan, you had a good time. You got to
I had a great time.
Your friends there on the in the chat too. That was a blast. And then, of course, guys, I'm just going to ask you one more time. Sponsors, if you are looking for some part, just shop these guys. See if they offer stuff that you could make work. Summit Racing has 1,500 brands. I mean, they've got anything you could need. Deechworks has the knowledge and all the stuff for any kind of fuel delivery. Molly Motorsports. If I was doing this the right way, I'd put Molly Power Pack pistons in the truck. But to get to the circuit, we're just going to do some stock bottom end stuff. But we do have Molly pistons in Eric's car, which is going to be a beast in 10.0 racing, and then we're going to go 850 stuff. Driven racing oil. I mean, Jonathan was telling the story before we even started about how the noise went away with some of the driven racing oil. Maybe that's what's the problem with your cars. Maybe you just need some driven. Howard's Cams. Big shout out to Luke B, who sent me a cam to Tulsa. Cam and push rods. Overnighted them. Made sure I had them for Friday when we got back to Mega Week. We ended up not swapping the motor. Should have. Still hate myself for not pushing for that. J-Wire Solutions, Jay is the man. Jay Blanchard just absolutely kills it with all the stuff. They can wire your car, sell you parts, all that stuff. WAF Racing, we showed you the video. Dude, if you're a carburetor guy and you don't have WAF Racing products, like what's wrong with you? Performer-Built Transmissions, talked about him a whole bunch. Car Chains 3D, I didn't even talked about car chains this week. Like all kinds of mounting stuff, all kinds of super cool. You can get a hat with your car 3D printed on it. Like it's awesome. Sweet Patina, the best hand cleaning wipes on the market. TKO hand cleaning wipes. Racing Junk Classifieds, who built an entire segment, the Dragon Drive cars. Like if that's not the first place you look for Dragon Drive cars, just leave. Don't come back. PowerTube TV, exclusive stuff from us over there. They put all of our shows on. We love them. We're gonna have them on very soon. Anyways, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on tonight, dude. I know it was
I appreciate you having me.
You're like that's the de facto co-host, man. It's pretty cool.
Yep. I just hope Eric's having a good time. Get some good coverage. You guys got something to talk about this week.
Yep, I'm sure he is. It's crazy. Saturday morning, the news. I'm I'm going to have Ken White and Tom Bagley on to talk about Street Weekend UK. So that'll be kind of fun. Be afternoon time over there for them. Be here. So typically we don't do that on the news channel or the news show because it's an hour. I don't have, we've talked 2 hours and 46 minutes tonight. So, but we're gonna have them on Saturday. So you guys gotta watch that. So appreciate it, everybody. See you. Bye later. Great show, man. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Like this show? Want more? Then head to WatchPTTV.com, the new 100% free PowerTube TV streaming network. Home of the best classic and new motorsports racing and build shows on the web.